If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as follow me and subscribe to me on all my other social media platforms. What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with another album review for you guys. This time I'm talking about one of two big releases that came out on the weekend of October 21st, and that is, of course, the latest offering from gory death metal grindcore masters, none other than Exhumed with To the Dead. Very direct album title, and it fucking kills. So yeah, this is Exhumed's 8th studio album. Of course, this band been around since 1990. Well, 5-year break between 2005 and 2010, but essentially have been around since the 90s. And of course, Exhumed is often considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest, clone of the one and only Carcass. After all, Matt Harvey will immediately tell you that he was inspired by Carcass to do Exhumed. Now, of course, early demo stuff was very much in that, like, reek of putrefaction era of Carcass, but then once their debut gore metal came out, they pretty much was inspired by the death metal side of Carcass, like Symphonies of Sickness through Heartwork in particular, because you always get these, like, gory, grindy death metal riffs, but with some great melodies here and there on their songs. Granted, their last album, Horror, which I believe I talked about when it came out in 2019, was definitely more on the grind side of their sound, and it wasn't the best album, in my opinion, for Exhumed, but it was still solid for what it was. So it's been 3 years since Horror came out, and now we have To the Dead. Of course, this is yet another album under the belt of drummer Mike Hamilton, also from Deeds of Flesh. Now, Matt Harvey has been a busy bee for the past several years, like not only doing Exhumed, but also Gruesome, as well as performing for the death tribute bands Left to Die and Living Monstrosity, amongst many other projects that he has as well. So, how is To the Dead? Well, pretty much right from the get-go, you get, like, that classic Exhumed sound, where it's just grindy grossness, death metal, all over the map. But all throughout this album, it's paced very well. And what was unique with this album compared to Horror was 15 tracks in only 26 minutes. This is a 10-track affair at nearly 40 minutes. So definitely kind of going back to the roots a little bit for Exhumed. Instead of focusing solely on just trying to be grindy the whole way through, they decided to bring back more songwriting chops. And right out of the gate with Putrescine and Cavernine, or Cadavernine, I think that's how you say it, or Putrescine Cadaverine, I think that's more like it. Yeah, right out of the gate, like I said, grindy death metal riffs with, like, a thrashy energy to it. And there is a lot of, like, a thrash vibe going on throughout this album, like in the riff writing, and of course the drum work is really, really cool. And then you get into songs like Drained of Color, which was the first single released off of the album and got a music video. Fucking badass music video. And right off the rip, once again, blast beats, grindy thrashiness, this whole song and the album just oozes putridity. And then Carbonized, which was another single, and this, as well as the song Undertaking the Overkill, are the shorter tracks of the album at under 3 minutes. Definitely more on that thrashy, grindy side of their sound, not as much on the straight ahead death metal side, because it was just all about blazing speed, just riff over and over, just deliver some unrelenting gore into your ears. Rank and Defiled, in particular, for me, is a track that stands out because this is where more of those guitar melodies come in. I mean, you heard it in Drained of Color, but Rank and Defiled, it's like they were just channeling, like, Sebastian Phillips and Matt Harvey were just channeling their inner Heartwork era carcass in terms of the guitar melodies and the lead work. Then again, the lead work on this whole album is really, really strong because it's more or less about the melody as opposed to just shredding your face off. Like, they wanted to create different dynamics throughout the album with the guitar leads instead of just all about who I can play as super fast and technical as fucking possible. Instead, they were focusing more on feel and melody, very much in the vein of guitarists like Michael Amott and Bill Steer. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But yeah, Rank and Defile definitely, I think, highlights more of those melodies. Lurid, Shocking, and Vile, kind of like a good balance of what this album is trying to pull off, with like feeling like an all-encompassing Exhumed album where you get the grind, you get the thrash, you get the death, you get the melodies. Neurotica, or Necrotica, actually, that's more like it. Yeah, Necrotica. I am struggling with my words as usual. But Necrotica, which I'm sure Necrotic Nick from Thralls of Metal's gotta be fucking jumping for joy with that song title. That, and then back to back with that, and then into No Headstone Unturned. Just, like, I keep repeating myself, but it's just very much the vibe. It's all about that putrid vibe, but still maintaining great dynamics and great tempo shifts. And that's actually a thing I've been needing to talk about with this album, is the fact that you get a lot of great tempo shifts. Like, they can go into the blast beats all they want, into the thrash beat all they want. Even some punky hardcore D-beat stomps go on throughout this album too, but they can slow it down to like a bolt thrower groove, which is really cool. And I would say, like, in these two songs, they can bring in the groove and do it just right. And then the final track, which is 5 minutes long, Disgusted, very much feels like the perfect all-encompassing track of the album, because it just mashes together everything that this album is just dropping onto you. So yeah, drum work, absolutely incredible. I mean, Mike Hamilton is such an underrated drummer. After all, if you hear his stuff in Deeds of Flesh, you know what this guy's all about. The riffs, like I said, there's some grindy riffs, some thrashy riffs, groovy riffs, death metal riffs, just all over the place. It's just kind of like a sampler platter of all things extreme metal. There's even some tremolo riffs here and there on a couple of tracks. Namely, I want to say Lurid, Shocking, and Vile has a couple of tremolo riffs. That was really, really creepy. And, of course, the bass work from Raw Sewage, it's just very, very grisly. And, of course, in the vocals, you know, Matt Harvey doing his best, like, Jeff Walker-style vocals, while Raw Sewage delivers those putrid gutturals that feel very much along the vein of Joe Ficek and early Frank Mullen. I do have one complaint with the vocals, though, and that's the pitch-shifted vocals. It's just, the pitch-shifted vocals, at least in Exhumed, don't feel necessary, because when you have such a low guttural that Raw Sewage has, I don't think you need to use pitch shifters to sound more brutal, because Raw Sewage's signature gutturals are brutal by themselves. I don't think you need to do any pitch shifting effects to make them even more brutal. Granted, it helps with the atmosphere and the vibe of the songs, but I feel it's just unnecessary. You don't really need to do it. Now, of course, the biggest gripe that I have with this album, the production. Yeah, they're definitely trying to go for more of an old school sound with the raw, lo-fi style. But when you have albums that have really good production like Slaughter Cult or even Death Revenge and Necrocracy, it just feels like they regress a little bit in the production. Maybe they did on purpose just to sound as gross as possible, which I will say it does give the album some character, but for me, I would have liked to have heard slightly better production. Like, there are times when the drums sound thin, then there are times where the guitars even sound thin, but I get what they were trying to go for, which I can forgive them for that. So overall, this is a really good album. It's definitely better than Horror, Is it amongst the best Exhumed albums? I don't think so. What I will say, this is a really good album. I'm going to give this one an 8.5 out of 10. There's some great songs on here. A couple of songs it didn't really capture my attention as much, but that's a very minor complaint. This is still a really good album for people who are fans of Exhumed should check out. But that's just my opinion. What did you guys think of To the Dead by Exhumed? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, horns high, see you guys later. Trouble the Skull. 1985, this is Trouble's sophomore effort, and this is the Hammerhard Records reissued that came out last year. This is amazing doom metal that has a lot of Christian lyrics, but it's Christian lyrics done right. It's mostly the somber, dark stories about Christianity, and I mean, even inside the case it says a verse. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you with all malice, and be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, as God in Christ forgave you.